Hello everyone and welcome to the sixth tutorial in a series of video tutorials for Java programming. Don't forget to click on the subscribe button and click on the bell icon as well to stay up to date with every tutorial I upload on my channel. So in the last tutorial we studied about the Java keywords. In this tutorial we are going to be talking about the Java data types. So there are different types of data types. In fact, there are 8 primitive data types in Java. So we are going to discuss each and every one of those data types in detail in this tutorial. So first of all, Java, before we start with the Java data types, we need to understand that Java is a strongly typed language. So what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that every variable in Java, or every expression, it has a value. Okay, for example, I am writing into I am writing 2. Okay, 2, it is a literal. So its type is most likely it can be int or it can be long. Okay, it can be short also, but that variable it is going to have a type. Okay, and that type is what we call as data type. And even if expression in Java, that also has a type. Like for example, I am saying I less than 2. If I is less than 2, then that means it is a boolean type. Okay, so even expression has a type in Java. Like for example, why I'm saying expression as a type, because this boolean expression I can write in if statement. I can write if I less than 2. So what exactly is happening inside that I less than 2? It is comparing whether the value of I, it is less than 2 or not, and it is going to return either true or it is going to return false. If I is less than 2, it will return true. However, if I is greater than 2, it is not less than 2, it is going to return false. Okay, so even expression has a type in Java. And what the second point is saying is that all assignments, they are checked for type compatibility. Now in Java, what happens is, like for example, you are assigning a variable. Okay, imagine that you have a boolean variable. So boolean variable, they can take only 2 values, either true or false. Now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to assign an integer value to the boolean variable. So in that time the assignment will be checked whether I am assigning properly or not. If I try to assign an integer value to a boolean variable, then that is not allowed. Okay, so that is what I have written here. So all the assignments, this is not only for boolean. I cannot, in the similar manner, I cannot assign a boolean value to integer. I cannot assign it means this type compatibility should be there. If I am creating a variable of type integer, it should contain only integer values. It cannot contain boolean values, or it cannot contain string values. And similarly, string, it cannot contain integer values. Okay, unless you are putting it in double quotes. But if you put it in double quotes, then it becomes a string and it is no longer an integer. So these are certain concepts we will be discussing in detail later on when I do with the help of the IDE. So then after that, all the parameters are checked before the compilation of a class. Now in Java, we know that we have a main method. Okay, and that main method, it is going to take a parameter string. Okay, it is not string, it is an array of string, because that's why we put string, then after that we put that square bracket, then after that we put args. So that is a parameter which we give to the main method. And I even removed that argument, and I did a little bit of exploration I think in the third tutorial, so that the concept will be more clear to you. So if you have not watched the third tutorial, you can go and watch it now. So now what I'm trying to say is there is not a single method in Java, like only main method. You can create a lot of your own methods. You can create user defined methods. Okay, like for example, to add 2 numbers, you can create a function for that. Okay, so what I'm trying to do, I'm created a custom function for adding 2 numbers, and it is going to intake two integers. Okay, so now what is happening is that the parameter as only integer, it supports only integer types, both the arguments, because obviously you can add only 2 numbers. So it is taking 2 parameters, and both of those parameters are of integer type. And what I am trying to do during function call, I am trying to pass a boolean value, or I am trying to pass some other string value, then that is not allowed. because that is what it is doing here. It is going to check all parameters before compilation of the class. Okay, before it creates that class file, it is going to check all parameters, and this happens even before this happens during compile time. Actually it will give a compile time error. Okay, that is why it is saying before compilation it will give a compile time error. Otherwise, if it were runtime error, then it would say after or something, or during execution, but this happens before compilation. So these things will be more clear with the help of the IDE, integrated development environment. So I'll be using that to explain more clearly. Now let us go to the primitive data types. So that is the basic topic which we are going to discuss in this tutorial. So now primitive types. So these are the 8 types of primitive types which we'll be discussing in this tutorial. So first of all, we have byte, then we have short, we have int, long, float, double, char, boolean. So these are the 8 primitive types which we are going to be discussing in this tutorial. Now there are certain rules for the primitive types, and first one is that primitive types, they are not object oriented. So what do I mean by this? If I am saying that primitive type it is not object oriented, I simply mean that I cannot create a object of a byte. Like for example, I write byte a, then I write equals to new byte. That thing is not allowed. I cannot create an object because it is not an object oriented. Okay, so similarly I cannot write int a equals to new int. I cannot do that because it is not object oriented. Okay, so same thing applies for all of those 8 primitive types. And primitive types have a range. Each and every primitive type, it has a particular range, and which we'll be discussing in the upcoming slides. And each of them has a different size also. So you can call it width, you can call it size. So it will be in bits. Of course you can convert it to byte if you want. So now I am going to go into the next thing. So this is the integer. So there are 4 types of integer data types in Java. Okay, we have byte, we have int, we have short, we have long. So these are the 4 types of integer data types in Java. So now what is happening here is, in this slide I am going to discuss only about the int data type. Okay, so now this int data type, it is going to support both signed as well as unsigned integer. Okay, unlike C or C++, where we have separate keyword for signed, and we have separate keyword for unsigned. Even in the last tutorial, if you have noticed extremely carefully, there was no keyword named signed and there was no keyword named unsigned. Okay, if you are a C or C++ programmer, then signed and unsigned, actually it is allowed in C and C#, C++ and C#. Okay, so but it is not allowed in Java because there is no keyword as such for signed and unsigned. So it is going to support both signed as well as unsigned integer. And the size, which I mentioned in the last slide, or you can call it width also, it is 32-bit. Now 32-bit means we are talking about 4 bytes, because 1 byte is 8 bits. So this concept, actually 1 byte is 8 bits. This concept is basic of computer fundamentals. So I hope you know those things. So 1 byte is is going to be 8 bits. So 32-bit is going to be 4 bytes. So the range is between the negative of this particular number to positive of this particular number. So since this is extremely large number, so I am not going to read it out. So now variable declaration syntax is going to be int a, b, c. Okay, so this is going to be the syntax for any kind of primitive type. This is going to be the syntax. First we are going to write the data type, then we are going to write the variable name. And if you want to declare more than one variable in the same line, in the last I think 2 tutorials before itself, I told you that you can put commas, and you can separate using commas. You can declare it in the same line. You can declare more than one variable in the same line using commas. So this is the all about int data type. Okay, so next data type is going to be byte. Now int, it has the size of 32-bit. So this byte, it has the size of 8 bits. So this is the small, it has the smallest range, and it has the lowest width also. It has 8 bits. 8 bits means exactly 1 byte, and obviously byte means it is 1 byte. Size is also 1 byte only. So the range is between -128 to +127, and this particular data type, it is useful when you are working with stream of binary data from file. Okay, so whenever you are, like for example, binary file is there. Okay, so binary file means it contains only 0 and 1 obviously. So in such a situation, you can use this byte data type to read and write into that particular file. And this is going to be the syntax of that particular data type. First we need to write the byte, which is the data type name. Then after that we need to write the variable name, which is again, like here I've written A and B, but you can write whatever you want to do here, but you should remember that there are certain rules which need to follow for declaring variables. You cannot write whatever you can over here. You cannot write byte here, because byte, it is a keyword, so variable name cannot be, keyword cannot be used as a variable name. So this certain rules I discussed in the I think 2 tutorials before also. So these are the certain rules which you must follow for declaring this variable. So now let us go discuss this point more deeply. -128 to +127, what does this exactly mean? Now we know that byte has a size of 8 bits. Okay, so now how this range is coming into the picture. So let me explain about that particular concept. So I think that I'll be explaining using the help of the calculator. So let us do that. So first of all, 2 raised to the power 8. Okay, 2 raised to the power 8, it is going to be 256. Okay, so now this 256 means this is for now this byte data type, it is going to include both negative as well as positive. Okay, if it is including only positive, then it would be from 0 to 255. Again remember, it is from 0 to 255, not to 256, because 0 is also included in that. So now what is happening here, it is, since it is starting from negative, that is why it is starting from -128. So what is going to happen if I divide 256 by 2? 128 is going to be the answer. So now -128 to 0, and if you -128 to 0, it is going to be around 128. If you include 0, then 129, and if you add 129 plus 127, you are going to get 256. So that is the logic behind this particular range, and that is the logic behind this integer also. But this integer was an extremely long number, so that is why I did not explain this particular one. So but the same concept is being followed here. So basically here also what the concept is following is that -2 raised to the power 32 divided by 2, and 2 raised to the power 32 divided by 2 minus 1. So that is how the range is working like that. So now short, okay, it is a 16-bit data type. So instead of like byte was 8 bits and int was 32 bits, so short is 16-bit, and the range is -32768 to 32767. So that is how the range is coming. Range is also same concept which we followed in byte. The same concept is followed in short also for the finding that particular range in which it is defined, and it is the least used data type. And the syntax you declare by simply by writing the data type and then variable name. So this syntax actually it is going to remain the same in everything. So it is not going to change. So whether I'm declaring like I'm declaring a floating point number, which I will be discussing in the next upcoming slides. So there also we are going to simply replace the short by float, and then after that we write ABC and it will declare a floating point. And similarly we can declare a boolean by writing boolean ABC, like that. So now let us discuss the long data type. So long data type, it is a signed 64-bit data type. Okay, so now what is the difference between int and long? Int is a 32-bit, okay, and long is a 64-bit. So this is going to have the largest range. Okay, So it is from minus 2 raised to the power 64. Again, same logic is being followed, which I explained 2 slides ago. So minus 2 raised to the power 64 divided by 2, 2 raised to the power 64 divided by 2 minus 1. So this is extremely large number. So this is going to be the range for the long, and this it is a 64-bit data type, and the syntax is going to be long ABC. Okay, so means the syntax is going to remain the same for everything. So now float is a float. This is for declaring a floating point variable. So all the things we have data types which were declared so far, this is for integer data type only. Integer types like long is there, short, byte, int. This is all for integers only. So now we are going to talk about floating point numbers. So okay, so in floating point data types we have two kinds of data types. First of all we have float, then after that we have double also. So what is the difference between float and double is that for float the size is the width is 32 bits, but for double the size is going to be 64 bits. And this float, it is going to require less degree of precision. That means, if you want less accuracy, if you want less precision, okay, you don't want a lot of accuracy, then you can use float because it saves space also. It requires just 32 bits of data. So 32 bits is going to be the width, and it requires less accuracy, it requires less precision. Then we are going to use float, and syntax, it is going to remain like this, float ABC. So again it's the same thing, data type followed by the variable names. Then double, again here it is going to use 64-bit, and here if you want more precision, if you want more accuracy, then we are going to use the double data type. And syntax, you can simply replace this float by double. So syntax, you don't need to worry about syntax. If you understood how to declare an integer data type here, then this is exactly how we declare other variables as well. Like we simply going to replace this int by double or long or whatever primitive data type I'm going to talk about. So syntax is going to remain the same. So it is just going to be the data type name, then followed by the variable name. So now the next data type which I am going to discuss about is the char data type. So this is for representing a particular character. So now in C or C++, if you have studied C or C++, you will know that the character data type, it actually occupies 8 bits. That means 1 byte. But actually in Java, the character, that is the char data type, it is going to occupy 16 bits or 2 bytes. Okay, so this is because Java is platform independent. Okay, C and C++, they are not platform independent. So because of this reason only, it occupies more bits. It requires 16 bits, and the range is from 0 to 65535. Now you need to remember one thing here. The range is from 0. It is just it does not contain a negative number here. It starts from 0 and it goes up to 65535. Okay, so this is going to be the range for the character one. So the syntax is that, again, this is going to remain the same thing. Data type is going to be char. Then this is going to be the variable name, and here a different concept comes into the picture. In character data type, it can contain both characters. This A, it is a character, and it can contain integer values also, like this 88. Okay, so this 88, what is this 88 actually, and why you can it is allowed, why you can assign it to the character variable? The reason is because this 88 actually, it is an ASCII code for a particular character. Okay, so there is a ASCII code. So this 88, it's a ASCII code for maybe X or Y or Z. I don't know what exactly the ASCII code it is for. So this is a ASCII code for a particular character, and that particular character is what is getting stored in this particular variable ch1, and that is why that thing is allowed. Now even arithmetic operation on characters is valid. Like I can write ch1 plus ch1 plus ch2, or I can write ch2 plus plus. Like for example, here ch2 is there, and the variable is assigned a value. So if I increment it, after this, if I print, if I put system.out.println, it is going to print out B. Okay, it is perfectly legal, and it is also encouraged also. So now boolean data type. So boolean data type, unlike other data types, it has exactly one legal value, and it is going to be true and false. And obviously here, if I talk about the range, it's not the range. If I talk about the size, it is going to be exactly 1 bit, because either it is going to contain true or it is going to contain false. So true means the value is going to be 1, and false means the value is going to be 0. So syntax, it is going to be boolean AB. Okay, so data type is boolean followed by the variable names. Then if you are writing this this B equals true, this is actually boolean expression. And if you are writing this B boolean variable inside a if statement, or for loop, or while loop, you don't need to write this entire thing B equals true. You don't need to elaborate it. You can simply write if B, and compiler will automatically understand that you are trying to tell that B equals true. Okay, similarly, you don't need to write B equals false. You can simply write if exclamation mark B, and the compiler will automatically understand that you are trying to tell it that B equals false. So that these are the certain things which you need to remember in this concept of data types. So that's all about I'm going to talk about in this tutorial. So in the next tutorial, I will be taking you to the IDE, and I will be discussing about the certain concepts, like what we learned in the past 2-3 tutorials, and I will be giving you the practical aspect of the Java once again. So I'll be talking about the loops, different kind of loops. I'll be discussing about the for loop. I'll be discussing about the while loop, do while loop, and enhanced for loop also. So then after that, I will be discussing about this data types in a little bit more detail. So so that's it for this tutorial. And if you have any questions regarding this tutorial, so don't hesitate to post in the comment box below. And so thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye.